Canada reported terrible news for the Canadian economy today. It grew at a meager 1%, a third lower than foreseen, and lower than our population grew. In fact, this is the direct result of higher taxes on capital gains, on energy, on work. Why won't they accept our common sense plan? Better yet, why don't they call a carbon tax election so we can fix the economy?
There you go.
Greg Fergus thought he could silence Pierre Poilievre. He was wrong. Dead wrong. In a shocking turn of events, Fergus's attempt to muzzle the Conservative leader has backfired spectacularly, igniting a firestorm of controversy that's sweeping across Canada.
I've got to ask you about the CRTC.
Another Liberal, another apology.
I am very sorry.
The latest from Quebec MP Greg Fergus.
Are we witnessing the beginning of the end for Fergus's career? Before we move on, I'd like to ask you a small favor. If you appreciate this content, please take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Over 98% of you watch the videos without subscribing. It costs you nothing, but it makes a huge difference to us. So, did you click the subscribe button? Great, thank you so much. Now, back to the video. Greg Fergus isn't just another face in Canadian politics. He's a Liberal Party veteran with over 30 years of climbing the ranks. This guy has been around the block more times than most people have had hot dinners. From national director to parliamentary secretary to Justin Trudeau himself, Fergus has worn more hats than a milliner's shop.
Will he announce now that his experiment with legalizing hard drugs in BC is over? Yes or no?
If he were parliamentary secretary to the Prime Minister.
Canada is presided over by a government that is fraught with ethical law-breaking.
But it's his latest role that's got everyone talking. On October 3rd, 2023, Fergus made history by becoming the first Black Speaker of the House of Commons. It should have been a moment of celebration, a step forward for diversity in Canadian politics. Instead, it's turned into a political powder keg. Why? Because Fergus can't seem to shake off his Liberal Party skin. Opposition parties are crying foul, accusing him of playing favorites like it's going out of style. They say he's about as neutral as a referee wearing team colors. And let's be real, the evidence isn't exactly in Fergus's favor. Remember February 2023? Fergus got caught with his hand in the cookie jar, violating the Conflict of Interest Act. Not exactly a gold star for impartiality, is it? But that's just the tip of the iceberg. Since taking the Speaker's chair, Fergus has been silencing opposition MPs like it's his new favorite hobby. How many times has he cut off opposition voices during critical debates? Over a dozen. That's right, more than 12 times, Fergus has decided that what opposition MPs have to say just isn't worth hearing. It's like he's got an itchy trigger finger on the mute button. This pattern of partisan behavior has left many wondering if Fergus is really up to the job of Speaker. After all, isn't the Speaker supposed to be the referee, not a player for one side? But Fergus seems to have missed that memo, continuing to show his true colors at every turn. And just when you thought things couldn't get any more heated, Fergus goes and pulls his latest stunt. But that's a story that's going to make your blood boil. Stay tuned, because what happened next in the House of Commons is going to leave you speechless. October 7th should have been a day of solemn remembrance. Instead, it became the backdrop for one of the most explosive confrontations in recent Canadian political history. As Poilievre took aim at Foreign Minister Joly, no one could have predicted how quickly things would spiral out of control. The House of Commons was already a powder keg of tension. Poilievre, never one to pull punches, zeroed in on Joly with laser-like focus. He demanded she condemn the anti-Semitic slogans heard during recent protests. But Joly didn't take the bait. Instead of a direct condemnation, she offered a vague acknowledgement of the attack's victims, stating, "We stand with Jewish people." This non-answer lit the fuse. Poilievre, sensing weakness, pounced. He accused Joly of pandering to Hamas supporters right there on the House floor. The chamber erupted. It was like he'd thrown a live grenade into the middle of Parliament. Fergus, caught off guard by the sudden escalation, sprang into action. He immediately labeled Poilievre's comments as unparliamentary language and demanded a retraction. But Poilievre, fired up and on a roll, wasn't backing down. The Speaker, his face flushed with anger, laid down the law. He reminded everyone that this wasn't Poilievre's first rodeo when it came to pushing the boundaries. It was strike three for the Conservative leader, having already faced consequences twice before for similar outbursts. Fergus, his voice dripping with frustration, declared, "Disregarding the authority of the chair, who is tasked with enforcing these rules, has a corrosive effect on our proceeding." He wasn't just talking about decorum anymore. This was about respect for the very institution of Parliament itself. the hammer fell. Fergus, citing a precedent involving Liberal MP Yvon Baker, banned Poilievre from speaking for the rest of the day unless he withdrew his comment. It was a nuclear option, one that sent shockwaves through the chamber. But the fireworks were far from over. As the dust settled, everyone realized this clash was about to have consequences that would echo far beyond the walls of Parliament. The stage was set for a showdown that would test the limits of parliamentary democracy itself. The clash between Fergus and Poilievre was just the opening act. What followed was a political drama so intense, it made question period look like a friendly chat. With accusations of bias flying and calls for resignation growing louder by the minute, Canadian politics was about to enter uncharted territory. Fergus's decision to ban Poilievre from speaking set off a firestorm. The Conservative Party didn't hold back, calling it a blatant assault on democracy. They accused Fergus of showing clear partisan bias, favoring his Liberal allies over the opposition. The Conservatives wasted no time in rallying their supporters, urging them to sign a petition demanding Fergus's removal as Speaker. But Poilievre wasn't about to back down. He doubled down on his accusations against Joly, insisting she should apologize for not condemning anti-Semitic chants at protests. Poilievre didn't mince words, stating, "A foreign affairs minister in Canada should find it very easy to condemn those kinds of remarks, but she didn't, because she's pandering politically." The reaction from other parties added fuel to the fire. Liberal MP Jennifer O'Connell fired back at Poilievre, accusing him of hypocrisy. She pointed to incidents like the Nazi flag being displayed during the Freedom Convoy protests, arguing that Poilievre had failed to address anti-Semitism within his own ranks. Public opinion exploded on social media, with hashtags calling for Fergus to resign trending across Canada. The outrage wasn't limited to Conservative supporters. Many Canadians felt Fergus had crossed a line, showing blatant favoritism in a role that demands strict neutrality. The controversy has put Fergus's position as Speaker in serious jeopardy. Political commentators are questioning whether he can continue in the role after such a clear display of partisan behavior. The incident has reignited debates about the challenges of maintaining impartiality in the Speaker's chair, with many pointing out that Fergus's predecessor faced similar scrutiny. As calls for Fergus's resignation grow louder, one question hangs over Parliament Hill. Has Fergus's attempt to silence Poilievre backfired so badly that it might cost him his job? The coming days will reveal whether Fergus can weather this storm, or if his time as Speaker is coming to an abrupt and inglorious end. Everyone's focused on whether Fergus will keep his job, but they're missing the real story. This incident exposes a rot at the core of Parliament that goes way beyond one man's actions. The truth about why our democratic institutions are failing is about to come to light, and it's not what anyone expects. The Fergus-Poilievre clash isn't just another political spat. It's a symptom of a much bigger problem eating away at Canadian democracy. The Speaker's job is supposed to be like a referee in a hockey game, keeping things fair and under control. But Fergus has been acting more like he's still wearing his old Liberal jersey, and it's causing chaos on the parliamentary ice. This controversy is like throwing a match into a powder keg of political tension. It's not just about one day's debate anymore. The fallout from this could change how Parliament works for years to come. Imagine future sessions where MPs are afraid to speak their minds, worried they'll get benched like Poilievre. It's a chilling thought for anyone who believes in free and open debate. But here's the kicker. This mess could have consequences that reach far beyond Parliament Hill. When people see the Speaker playing favorites, it chips away at their trust in the whole system. It's like finding out the Stanley Cup was rigged. Suddenly, you start questioning everything. So why is Fergus really breaking down? It's not just about one heated moment or the pressure to resign. The truth is, he's caught in an impossible situation. On one side, he's got his old Liberal pals expecting him to have their backs. On the other, he's facing the weight of centuries of parliamentary tradition demanding he be neutral. It's like trying to walk a tightrope while juggling flaming torches. Sooner or later, something's gotta give. This whole saga is forcing Canadians to ask some tough questions. How can we trust our democratic institutions if the people in charge can't play fair? Is it even possible for someone with a long political history to be truly impartial? These aren't just academic debates, they get to the heart of how our country is run. As the dust settles on this political earthquake, one thing's becoming clear. Canadian democracy is at a crossroads. The choices made in the coming days won't just affect Fergus or Poilievre. They'll shape the future of how our country governs itself. And that's something every Canadian should be paying attention to.